The night she said I would not last a week living with her, rain clawed at the windows like it wanted inside, and the house felt just as angry as the woman standing at the top of the stairs. The air was thick with exhaustion, with old disappointments that had never learned how to leave. I remember thinking that if walls could talk, these ones would beg us both to stop pretending we were stronger than we felt. I was standing there not as a guest, not as family, but as an employee who had crossed an invisible line simply by agreeing to stay. When she said I would not last a week, it was not a challenge. It was a warning carved out of loneliness. And when I replied that I was not leaving unless she fired me, I was not being brave. I was terrified of what would happen if I walked away. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of staying when it would be easier to go, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Stories like this matter because they remind us who we can be when no one is watching. I had taken the job because I needed it, plain and simple. After my father died and the debts followed like shadows, pride became a luxury I could no longer afford. She needed live-in help because her health was failing in small ways she refused to name. On paper it was simple. I would manage the house, cook, clean, drive her to appointments, and stay out of her way. In reality, it was a collision of two broken routines. She was sharp, distant, and controlled every corner of her life with military precision. I was quiet, careful, and carried the kind of patience you only learn when life has already taken too much from you. The first days felt like walking on glass. Every sound I made seemed too loud. Every decision felt wrong. She hated the way I folded towels, the way I cooked vegetables too soft, the way I breathed when I was tired. She did not yell. That would have been easier. Instead, she used silence like a weapon, and disappointment like a language she spoke fluently. At night, alone in the small room she had assigned me, I wondered if she was right. I counted the days like a prisoner counts scratches on a wall, convincing myself that endurance was the same thing as strength. But beneath her cold rules and sharp routines, I began to notice cracks. I saw how her hands shook when she thought no one was looking. I saw unopened letters stacked neatly in a drawer, all from the same hospital. I saw how she paused outside a locked room at the end of the hallway every night, resting her forehead against the door as if listening for a sound that never came. This was not cruelty. This was grief that had calcified into habit. The real challenge came when her condition worsened. She slipped on the stairs one morning, and the fall stole a piece of her pride that never came back. From that day on, she needed more help than she wanted to admit. Dependence humiliated her, and humiliation made her crueler. She pushed me away with rules and corrections, but she also watched me closely, as if measuring whether I would disappear like everyone else had. I struggled more than she knew. There were nights I lay awake replaying her words, wondering why I stayed in a house that did not want me. Money was part of it, but not all. Something about her loneliness mirrored my own, and leaving felt like repeating a pattern I was desperate to break. I had spent too much of my life walking away when things became uncomfortable. This time, I wanted to see what happened if I stayed. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, things began to shift. It started with small acts she pretended not to notice. A repaired door hinge. A garden weeded and replanted with her favorite flowers. Meals cooked exactly the way she liked, because I had learned her preferences not from her words, but from observation. She still corrected me, still tested me, but the silence between us softened. The house stopped feeling hostile and began to feel tired, like it was finally ready to rest. One evening, during a storm much like the first, the power went out. The house fell into darkness, and for the first time, she did not retreat into herself. Fear has a way of stripping people down to who they really are. In the dim light of a single candle, I saw her vulnerability clearly. The control was gone, replaced by a quiet terror of being alone. I stayed nearby without speaking, offering presence instead of solutions. That night changed everything, though neither of us said it out loud. Weeks passed. Then months. The week she said I would never last came and went without ceremony. Her health stabilized, not because miracles happened, but because she allowed help instead of fighting it. She began to trust me in small ways, then larger ones. She shared stories she had buried for years, not through conversation, but through old photographs left intentionally on the table, through music played a little louder than necessary, through meals eaten together instead of separately. The locked room at the end of the hallway eventually opened. Inside was a life frozen in time, belonging to someone she had lost and never learned how to mourn properly. Cleaning that room was the hardest thing I have ever done, not because of the dust, but because of the weight of memories clinging to every surface. She watched from the doorway, silent, tears falling without shame. I did not rush her. Grief moves at its own pace, and forcing it only deepens the wound that I in helping her face what she had avoided. I found myself healing too. I learned that staying does not mean losing yourself. It means choosing connection over comfort. The house changed as we did. Laughter, tentative at first, returned to its rooms. Light seemed to reach corners it had ignored for years. She stopped seeing me as someone who would leave and started seeing me as someone who chose to stay. The day she finally admitted she had been wrong about me was quiet and unremarkable, which made it perfect. No dramatic apology, no emotional confession. Just a simple acknowledgement woven into an ordinary moment. It was enough. More than enough. If this story has reached into your heart, if it has reminded you of someone you almost gave up on or a moment you chose to stay when leaving felt easier, please take a second to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Your engagement helps keep stories like this alive, stories that remind us that kindness can change lives. Near the end of my time there, as her strength returned and my presence became less necessary, she told me I was free to go. Not because she wanted me gone, but because she no longer needed to test whether I would stay. I left knowing that sometimes the greatest act of love is proving you will not disappear when things get hard. Before this story ends, I have one special request. Please comment the line, "I choose to stay." Let it be a promise to yourself, and a reminder to others that even in the hardest moments, kindness and patience can rewrite endings. Thank you for listening.